Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the SSL quarterfinals, the first that will be broadcasted today, and hopefully the first of many. My name is Sino. I'll be doing everything behind the desk. I hope you guys are having an amazing night. I know I am. We have a great matchup here today. We have KUSHO versus Wild Boys. It should be an absolute banger. We have 3 maps ahead of us, and they all are very well played out venues. We go from club to border, all the way up to consulate if we need all maps. I mean, it's a great day when you get to watch some Siege, and it's even better when you get to watch players and teams that always surprise us. So I'm kind of excited to see how this gets to play out for the day. For those of you who are newer to this league and the playoffs that follow with, this is how it's shaping up right now, with this being our first quarterfinal in the midst of this. Whoever wins this will go on to play the winner of ZMPK versus 13P. That also should be an amazing game. All of these matchups, I mean, I feel like I can no longer dictate the outcome of a match just because of how many upsets we've seen in the round 1 playoffs. So it should be quite interesting to see how this plays out, but I'm very excited to see how this goes, how these teams show up today, especially with a map with something on the board for them to go. We're not going to be running predictions for the first map just because we're kind of in a jiffy, but while we wait for both teams to get situated into the game, get ready, share this with a friend, and we'll be back after this gets underway. Into the game we go. It's always an amazing time when we have some Siege, especially when it is not a best of 1. I'm excited to see how this plays out today, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who missed the pre-show, my name is Sino. I'll be doing everything behind the desk. It's not a usual esport broadcast. We're a solo channel where I just run this because I'm passionate about the game and I do everything behind the scenes. So it should be quite an exciting one. It was a very, very pleasant surprise with how KUSHO played last week. It wasn't a game we expected them to win, but guess what? They met our expectations and then some by beating their opposition and qualifying to the round 1 of the playoffs, which is now leading into the quarterfinals. They beat the only team that we didn't expect them to, NLG, within the round 1. They got a 2-0 and they won themselves the game, so it's very deserving, and hopefully they can continue to rip it up, because if they can take care of Wild Boys, they'll be a top 4 prospective team within the global standings to go on to continue to just wreak havoc on this bracket, and I can only imagine the scenes if that's the outcome today. But for those of you who don't know the maps underway, we have Clubhouse as the first, second will be Border, and the third will be Consulate if we need all 3. Now, in a sense, this is a very exciting game, but it should be pretty nerve-wracking for either team because, again, something about these leagues are there are no lower bracket. So if you lose your series, you're out and there's no second chances to prove yourself. So there's a lot on the line here for either team, and whoever loses this one walks away with absolutely nothing and has to wait until the next season to get themselves underway to try to push for something better. Hopefully this is one of the ones that shows us how this plays out. Now, Inari being brought out, and with the castle strat as well, it kind of creates a web for the hatch. So if anybody tries to kind of drop, they're going to have to deal with a spider web of lasers. If they drop, they'll instantly get downed. So a little bit difficult to deal with, especially looking at the amount of radius he can cover. You can throw some projectiles down, but no explosive can deal with these head on. Well, formerly I really don't want to say it, but I kind of have to. Formerly known as Kitty Koval, had a nuclear series the previous week, and now without the good luck name, I don't know how he'll do. Flash obviously being the operator that can hold things down within the site here. It looks like a heavy extension is a roam that is very common on a map like Clubhouse, especially on the bottom floor when Habana is not banned, but still, it takes a lot of coordination to execute a setup with this type of caliber without using bodies external to the site in the earlier stages, especially when you're not fully set up. You still have somebody making rotates, and one player has already entered the building and is making contact with your first point, which will be Charlie, who seems to know somebody's waiting for him. Has the call. Fixated onto the castle too as well. And the payload fixated. We're mainly focused on the clash. So this plays out in a specific way. All quiet on the western front while both these teams go to the drawing board to see how they want to play this out. Castle deciding to fall back to site and now strengthening in numbers on home base. It'll be the second player who sits in sight. Now time slowly but surely ticking down, and Wild Boys losing their comfort of their sweet time to clear, especially when they haven't taken care of the mute. And Cole has two things to worry about. One player on the main stairs who he knows about but is very low, but is not accounting for the mute. It's Jax to open it up. Koval instantly falls as a response from Wild Boys, leaving them at evened out, but not before Vix falls and getting rid of the Grim as well. Say goodbye to one of the main execution operators. 75 seconds, and Charlie sent up to clean things up, but the question is, can he do it in enough time? Because the clock is starting to run thin, and only one hatch is opened up for them. Make this a lot harder to play comfortably for the attackers. All three of them fixated on the mute's position. There's a C4 and a shotgun to fall down as they get closer to try to get rid of Jax. He'll go big with his third. And by that time, they have two more floors to clear out with half a minute left. And now they're realizing that Inaris, you guys can't EMP them unless you know exactly where they are. You'll have to hit it perfectly, but Charlie has exhausted all of them. A one-man advantage, but that advantage is large considering there's a shield on the board. Now 10 seconds left on the clock, and they need to isolate. Charlie, what are you aiming at? That's the jukebox! The refrag comes in. Flash holding this player at bay as you're in the red time. This round is all but over. Wild Boys have the time expire on them. Not what you want to see on your first debut round in a quarterfinals, but luckily for you, there's a lot of time to prove yourself, but KUSHO with a beautiful opener. A beautiful opener. And now all they have to do is continue to build onto it. Because that's exactly where a team wants to start against, especially a global standing roster that continues to put in the pressure. Pre-recorded commentating? What does that even mean? Yes, I interacted with the chat. No, I don't care. This is not pre-recorded, guys. Promise you. Just scripted instead. Now this team is very committed on holding certain executes that force players to make mistakes while clearing out external parts of the map. This is an insanely old setup, and it works for a reason. No castle to go downstairs. Instead of having head holes in garage, they'll reinforce off the lounge walls. And I'd only assume that means they're also going to cut off the garage extension as well. Yeah, forcing more players to utilize hard breaches to get into the building. But in the meantime, the Tachanka can just hurl over Shmikas through those head holes above the breach, making it a very heavy stronghold in the site to fortify all of this pressure. Makes this a lot bigger of an issue than we could assume. Now Maverick on the trick here. Looking to have some form of pressure, but still nothing yet. You have the support of your teammate waiting, but right now you're going to be met with that clash. And the question if you got it correctly. There you go. Now still, they know there's a lot left to do. And the fact is they don't have Thermite, who recently has been given 3 exothermics. You only have 3 Selmas to work with, but you'll save some by doing the Maverick trick and using the soft breacher instead. Now Vix gets first blood, gets rid of the C4 and the mute, making this a very good first pick to continue. Force the pressure back into the site. Now there's a lot left to do, but the question is, can they maintain their timing? Because last time we saw that it was not very fun for them to try to attack the site with 10 seconds left and all the utility in the world stacked against them. Now they're operating with a man advantage, but just traps are going to be the biggest issue here, and especially that shield operator. The Shmikas are in prime, with T4 still on the board, and the clash, as long as that shield stays up, will be an issue for the remainder of the round. Now Maverick, outside the breach, looks to continue to be that choke point for the team to make sure nobody flanks these players. Somebody could make a risky move and just swing the clash. That's exactly what's going to happen. Who's here to help out your clash? Brad having to take it into his own hands and back out. Now plant going down. Where is Cobalt? Because the plant is going to be stuck out. You guys didn't account for this? Come on! The C4 finally goes out but lands on a reinforced wall, leaving the attackers strong in numbers and picking off the defenders one by one. Not what they would have expected, but that is what happens when you extend out a C4 so far away from the site on your flawless round. But Brad goes out swinging to prevent that from happening. But regardless, the outcome is still a round in the favor of Wild Boys as they'll tie things up. Not what you want to see, especially with this type of pressure mounting in a playoff match. Give them the benefit of the doubt and they will prevail. They're running some very classic strats and it's looking very innovative. You just need to be able to read into how Wild Boys play. The difference between good and great teams is the ability to adapt mid-game. Now, both these teams have impressed so far. It looks like even after playing through, let's say, cold feet is what I'd like to say. Not hands, because this team never gets cold hands, considering they have all gunners. But Wild Boys have been off for a week if they don't scrim, which I don't assume they do. They've had a full week off while the round 1 playoffs were occurring, so that means they're a little bit less warmed up than a team that's just come off a 2-0 victory of an upset against NLG. And they're still able to convert and put their strats on paper this quickly. Now, it's important that they continue to do so, but Koval makes me eat my words and gets his first kill of the game by taking care of the lurk. And now Charlie will have to think about what to do in the next round, but for now we'll just have to remain on the cams and help his teammate find the reef right, which will successfully happen. Grip circles to try to get the finish. He needs to be careful not to get too hungry, but it won't really matter because no one's watching the verticality. I mean, the finish comes in from Vix. The second round in a row, he's opened up the picks. Pertinent that you now maintain the evened out count while you go back to the drawing board. KUSHO playing more of a restrictive game style without feed holes, without head holes. They like to cut off certain rooms and force players to have to work their way through utility. Usually you see either a rotate or feed holes into logistics, but right now, none of the above. They decide that the site will be the final stand, the stronghold that they'll use to force more mistakes out of these players. But it's still going to have to be proved by a lot more than just the setup. They need to be able to have enough gun skill to execute because, you know, how reputable this team is and what they're able to do. Just below a minute left. All the util continues to stack up against. The longer this round goes on, the more Wild Boys will have to do to try to get that plant down, and it doesn't help that they will lose all of the cross pressure that comes in from the highway window. Adexi crawling gives out the location and the comm that he's downed and will be unavailable until picked up. Now time continues to run out on this team, and they need to pivot while they get Adexi back up on his feet because they need this pressure if they need that site control. Now it looks like the rotations will have multiple players on the highway window. You use those Bs and put them into effect. Luckily for Vix, only used one in the earlier stages, but Deftones gets rid of Cole. 15 seconds left. The castle goes nuclear, looking to find the third, but barely misses on the second attempt to find it. A triple kill. Red time for one operator to clutch out. We'll get rid of the first and the second, the lineup for him. But the time is running loose. They don't have the case. A 1v1. Such a valiant effort from Vixel. But not enough. KUSHO, for the second time, will win a round on time expiration, as Wild Boys are still running into the roadblocks that are being presented by the amount of pressure that arises. An entertaining first couple of rounds from either team here, but as the parameters reset, the bottom four will be unlocked with 3 rounds since they've won it. Meaning they'll now have the opportunity to get a near perfect site cycle. Shar just admiring his own Denaris, which honestly I would too. Look at how symmetrical they look. Now this is a very outgoing hold into lounge and through bar and on the stairs as well for the coverage, and if you would like to add in jacks upstairs, which you do, it's a lot more progressive than you would think. But the main issue with this setup is it's very weak on site. So if the player that's signed to waiting down there hasn't set up in time, they're prone to quick plays and quick rushes if a team just decides to beeline it in through dirt. Now Koval getting very aggressive, but is going to meet Adexi, so we'll take a passive position here as the location has been given away. Doesn't decide to shoot despite having the angle and waiting for the comms to be given out. will hear the skeleton keys get triggered off, which means there's only one focal point you can push through. That is through stock, but you're going drone hunting when a player is circling. A brave decision to walk out. Luckily for you, Adexi wasn't prepared to get aggressive yet. But these players will begin to take their approaches into the building. Take possession of garage, stock as well, and from there to continue to push through. Time slowly but surely ticking down. Almost a blunder. Oh no. You guys need to be careful when you cross. You made the rotate. You made your own bed. Now you got to sleep in it. That rotate will get a player killed if they are not aware. They think the shield covers full body, but if the Solus peeks out, head is going to be chopped off the shoulders. Now 90 seconds left, and again, it really looks like Wild Boys are hitting a wall every single time they try to get in, but the main issue is for them that the utility is stacked up against them. They can turn their heat up from 1 to 100 in a matter of seconds, but it's about the pretense that they can put themselves in. And it looks like blue will be the main idea here to spearhead the attack. Hatch is being opened up to ensure no aggressive swinging, but 3 players in armory and armory adjacent areas make it a lot harder for Cole to walk through and try to take players out. Just below a minute left, the B start to ping out the players. They know he's playing on the pixel between the shield. Still nothing. Shar opens it up, gets 2! All of blue's pressure has been alleviated, leaving all of these players in main to delegate, to try to give each other tasks, to try to find areas in the map that may have a gap in it. But guess what? Shar, after continuing to build up the pressure by finding that double kill, can use the angle from oil to watch dirt, rotate in the site, and go look at bottom main, but Trey hits a beautiful backstab. Charlie goes down in the meantime, putting them right back up to a 2-man advantage. Temporarily stunned, but back on deck. 15 seconds left. And this Azami needs to rely on the coverage of the teammates to get the job done. Char will go down, but the Azami will be picked out. Wild Boy starting to fight back. No C4 in the hands of Jax, meaning you'll get physical when it comes to denying this plant. Having to plant, Trey will get rid of Char, and the player is going to take refuge behind the Kiba barrier. They don't know where he is, but Koval saves it at the last second. 3 kills in a matter of seconds to give KUSHO a 2-round lead. Beautifully played out as Wild Boys need to go back to the drawing board before this team gets a perfect cycle in defense. This game continues to pay us what we deserve, and that is peak quality. I told you KUSHO is not here to play, and evidently so, as they continue to push through each and every single round, innovating more than the last. Now this being the only site that they've lost this entire game. They decide to go for a similar setup, but a little bit more classic. No Tajanka on the pivot position to watch CC and overhang. No clashes in the band out, so I'm assuming the idea here is going to have the castle play below and lounge and catch out any players that cross in, making it a lot more difficult for Wild Boys players to get aggressive within stock, garage door, and any of the reinforcements. Aggression in the middle name of half these players being Adexi and Charlie, also known as Squirtle. Players continue to get very aggressive and turn up the heat when they can, but right now they're just being held out just because of how well layered these things are, these strats. They're playing OG Siege, which is the Onion Siege, not the run and gun Siege. 12 gauge shotgun, he hit fires him on the first bullet. Koval is shot in the face. Now, the layer of verticality still holds, meaning there's still a lot to do. Not really a lot of time to work with. But that castle is going to meet his maker soon, and Shar is taken off the board. Meaning that's one layer taken care of, and it hasn't been peeled back. Essentially, it's been breached, allowing this zombie to easily get cleared out. If a player decides to take that vertical hold and get active and get aggressive, Jax continues to apply that pressure. Second by second, they look on how they want to continue to get rid of these players, unaware of the player that's holding the head angle. Now Jax will go down, finished off by the player that sits on the CC window. Charlie's taking a pivotal position, but Pushbrad finally applies that pressure and alleviates some pressure, but there's still a lot left to do. C4 going wide, it doesn't even do anything to Charlie. A couple points of damage, but nothing. Just to chip off the old block. 65 seconds left to do something, but the Jago payload is going to have the last laugh as Deftones will take care of Vix, but it doesn't matter. They finally will strike back and close the deficit down to 1 as we approach halftime. But apparently we've hit a technical difficulty while we get this settled. We'll be right back. Luckily, I'm a genius and I got it solved in under a minute. We're back. Missed nothing but the site setup, so the boring part's out of the way. Both these teams really applying the pressure round by round. They show us how resilient they really are. The fact that KUSHO has had the lead for the majority of this game is a little insane to even think about. Actually, now that I think of it, Wild Boys have never had the lead. They've only been tied. Making this a little insane for a game. 40 seconds off the old block. A lot left to do here, really. All quiet, though, as both teams really just look on how they can approach each other without losing bodies. For Wild Boys, really more than anyone, considering they're the ones that have had to kind of struggle with finding access to the buildings, being mainly Cole, who's really finding deaths in a really easy way. Every time a gunfight is taken, he doesn't walk out alive. This time, that prophecy is falling onto Squirtle as he's taken care of first as Brad opens it up and gets rid of the Dokkaebi, meaning no more Jago payloads for the entirety of the round. Crucial for the overall integrity of this game. Now, 90 seconds left on the clock and it's all quiet. Koval going for a flank onto CC window while everyone else is going to take their time on the site to take pressure off. Old angle, and he will take full advantage of that. The full rotation will pay off. There's the kill needed. And now a two-man advantage as KUSHO continue to push through and take these rounds off. If this continues down the same road, they will be at a 4-2 split, giving them the advantage. They head onto the attack and a little bit of a buffer if they make mistakes. 45 seconds left, and it's still very quiet. As Koval, still the wild card for his team, was absolutely nuclear in the previous attempt against NLG and was finding a lot more joy, but right now, not really much to do when the rest of your team is just on fire. Now the flawless narrowly avoided by a Dexy, but they're still circling defenders that want to get rid of you. They want that 4-2 split. They're hungry for it. But you're not gonna go down without a fight. Adexi takes care of 3. Now 15 seconds to isolate, but as you almost had that castle dead to rights, Bandit steps in, Jax delivers the final bullet that takes care of that player, putting KUSHO up 2 rounds and sends them to the attack with the advantage. Now this game has proved so far to be in the advantage of KUSHO. But again, you guys have to keep in mind that this is a top 4 team that they're facing against. Even more than that, you have tournament players. You have such a wide base for this Wild Boys roster. Some players who are known for their tournaments, some that are known for their leagues, but at the end of the day, they are a very capable team. And with the way they play, they continue to apply that pressure in and throughout each and every single round that they'll play. Adexi almost won a 1v5 there, and that isn't the type of space that you want to give a player because you know they'll take a mile when you give it to them. And we're waiting a couple of seconds because we do have a technical difficulty, but hey, it gives us more time to talk about how these teams can really continue to apply pressure onto each other. And for an upcoming team like KUSHO, a team that kind of sprung out in the scene, upsetted a team 2-0, and is now looking to continue to make a deep run into the playoffs. If they can beat Wild Boys, it's pivotal as they'll become top prospects to win within this league. Now, technical difficulties all resolved. The player was about to disconnect, but oh, there we go. Thought he disconnected again, but he's back. Cole not having the hottest of attacking games, but hey, Clubhouse is very fun to play, especially when you have a Mira going. Have some pressure applied. Continue to take all the advantage you can get because you have Clash and Mira for 3 whole rounds before it gets banned. Refreshing from KUSHO on their defense. Now I'm very interested to see how they'll play out on their attack, if they'll go back to the OG club strats from year 5 Pro League days. That's what they were doing on the defense, and they look to continue to innovate. But as of now, it looks to be a very default take of basement, where you get the hatches open, you apply the pressure, you have a player open up dirt, and then from there you get the triple wall opened up with the ace, but no soft breach to work the floors right now is the biggest issue that presents itself, despite Ram being on the board here. But to take a gridlock over a Ram is understandable in its own ways, but still there's a lot to do, and having to deal with a lot of players who could just hide in different parts of the site because they can seek refuge under a soft floor because you didn't breach. It could be a difference maker of this round. Hopefully they've done enough of their pre-work to know what to do, but apparently not, as Trey is going to get first blood, just camping out within bedroom, but instantly refragged out by Koval. A beautiful first pick, though, that's really going to hurt the attackers, considering they've now lost all of the Stalma charges. Hibana may need to conserve those X-Kairos to be able to open that triple breach up, because they need that cross. They need the ability to establish pressure into Church and to get rid of that Mira as well if the team cannot prevail, which you cannot. And to add insult to injury, Push Brad goes down with all Bs as well. A minute 10 left on the clock, and KUSHO at a disadvantage as utility still remains intact, and there's still so much left to do, and they've lost the operators that would help establish the means to do so. Now that shock drone could just get rid of the Vulcans first, as that could be the main idea. Now, the mirror is opened up without the assistance from the shock drone. Lots left to do, honestly, and it's a good step to be able to get rid of the Vulcans, but they burned for 20 seconds apiece, and one of them had just been popped, meaning they'll only have like 10 seconds to get into the site. As all of the burning subsides, Cabal starts to heat up as he's dropped into Memo, and Char goes down, but Deftone strikes right back. Church has become open season for defenders. A C4 is the biggest issue right now to deal with, but Charlie lurking and just sitting prone with that DCSG is going to be that big issue, and the chemistry between these two, simply undeniable. As Adexi just swings off the audio and just gets an easy kill to close the deficit down to 1 round. KUSHO need to be able to know how their opponents play, what they want to do, and how they'll go about doing it. One ratty player put a wrench in their plans and delayed them until they couldn't make any executes. A good round by Wild Boys. They'll need to put a lot more on the board if they want to take the lead. Koval tried his best to give his team the upper hand, but eventually just couldn't work out after individual efforts just went unnoticed after he was taken care of. I mean, a 1v2 situation with the clock is running loose like that, there's not much you can do except for go back to the drawing board and think about what you can do better following, and then the round after that, so on and so forth. Now, KUSHO, I'm assuming, has a lot of players rooting for them, and we'll see that as we kind of have to rush the polls in the first map, but the second and the third, if we do need a third, will show us how many people are here to support one team and how many are here to support the other. I'm actually kind of excited to see that stat line. Now, with the gym extension, usually is quite default to establish a choke point for any player that gets a little carried away and tries to flank CC. Why you open up this breach so anybody who crosses to play within Garage or Cash will have to deal with this player. Now, very important that none of them get carried away and swing out, because if you lose that pressure that you have in Cash, you lose all of the control that you can maintain from just within the site or soft roaming, whether you're in con, whether in your logistics. Just cannot die in Cash because you have so much access to these areas. All quiet from KUSHO as they're looking for the easiest way to apply the pressure, and right now it seems to be via Garage. They know there's a player that resides within Cash, and their main idea is to get rid of him. Now, Deftones aiming at head level, but Adexi at the toes. I'll let you be the deciding judge on who would win that gunfight. The F2 sings the praising grace that gets rid of one player, but Cabal instantly met after using the first Selma. A big loss yet again. That's the second time an ace has been lost this early on. Just below 90 seconds to get active. Charlie will get rid of Char. And these players need to get creative. They need to get more aggressive. But Deftones finally evens it up, but not before Cole instantly responds with a kill of his own. 70 seconds left on the clock, and still, Wild Boys have had the advantage from start to current point. And they continue to just take passive angles. This team is forced to try and find a gap in the site. Somebody's gonna need to get aggressive to get rid of these players that sit in Cash or rooms that are Cash adjacent. They almost had that sentry dead to rights, but Squirtle just occupying mattresses, making this a lot harder now for you to jump in the window. Jackson, where his arm is showing a player on that window, they know. Not the time to be second guessing. As Push Brad now has a 1v3 ahead of him. Live pings on the player the furthest away. I know there's somebody close, but are you aware that there's a cross going to be held soon enough? The Bailiff can't even do the job. Trey A double kill and more than enough to tie things up. If Wild Boys can win 2 back-to-back to make it their 3rd consecutive round, they can take the lead for the first time on Clubhouse. And KUSHO will begin to need to do damage control, considering they're now fighting from the lesser preferred side. This being Wild Boys map gives KUSHO a little bit of, let's say, I don't even know what we can say, because I'd like to say we could give them a little bit more space and leniency with how they're playing out, but I feel like if you're not treating every map like your last, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage here. But this is Wild Boys map, and they are one of the strongest teams in the league. It was very hard to win out on one of their own. Not really lots to do. And the question is, do you have enough time to do it in? Because we know this team kind of gets more and more aggressive as the time goes on. Wild Boys are a team that heat up. And once they're kind of locked in, once they're primed out, it's not a fun time to go against them. Currently, one of the best players on this team is currently not even warmed up, and it's still positive. But Adexi right now, best player on his team, finding kills and getting things done via supporting role too. One off of breaking double digits now, and there's a lot left to do for you, KUSHO, but I have full faith. You proved that to us last week, where everyone was skeptical. All odds were stacked against them, and they managed to win a map 2-0. Now the breach getting opened up very easily. Flame bolts and cluster charges alike to ensure that nobody can slap down an electric wire. Making it easier for Brad to just continue to move across the map and get the breaches opened up that are needed. Cole being the main issue here, as Zombie's banned out, so he'll just use his magnets, and Viog will be the, let's say, substitute for those Kiba barriers, a C4 to work with, but really need to use it in the right correction, as otherwise you're going to be no util, no lifelines to get yourself out of Raptors without falling. Nobody is watching this player from Garage, meaning look isolate for now and try to activate the shield break. The player on the plat bridge will have that cross if he gets too carried away. He continues to watch different areas of the map, but Brad has issues of his own right now. But Lamai might make a decision that will be a little bit chaotic for his team. Does so indeed. Brad opens one up. Could just take the time now with the rest of the continue to do the prerequisites to get into the site and get that plant down. Fix gets rid of Jax, but he'll instantly fall via refrag. The cluster charge catches him off guard. 70 seconds left, but Valkyrie's below with a C4. And it seems like the players know this. You see a player drop down to the platform and then back down to lounge, but I don't think they know. He's waiting with the C4. This is chaotic as Deftones gets rid of Trey. Where is it actually going? It's going down in default. He's expecting something else. Deftones gets rid of Squirtle, and Adexi's now left by his lonesome. No C4. The Monty now activated, but Push Brad is there to open up the round and now close it out. Beautifully played out from start to finish. He was actually planting in cash, but he realized too late. And the armor panel from Castle just made things a lot worse. KUSHO maintaining the lead for the entirety of the series. Wild Boys have only ever been drawn up to this point, meaning they need to pick things up or call a timeout. Otherwise, they're at risk of losing their own map. One round shy of either max regulation or match point for KUSHO, who have been playing absolutely extraordinary right now, forcing so many mistakes, but have also had their own fair share of them. Meaning they need to be perfect for this round if they want to be able to get one round closer to getting rid of Wild Boys' ace up the sleeve, which is on Clubhouse. Now for KUSHO, we know they're more than capable and equipped to do it. They need to be on their A game, considering this site has crumbled for them again and again and again. Now, hopefully the ace isn't the first pick here. We could find a heroic play if the Selma charges can actually detonate this time around. He's being a very popular pick with this team, and wouldn't be surprised if these guys like Bank as well. I mean, it's a non-common strat, but using cluster charges to get rid of utility is quite common, but it's more seen on Bank than any other map. So it's always a little interesting to see being played out on a map like Clubhouse. But knowing how much these teams have ahead of them, KUSHO just want to get whatever advantage they can give themselves earlier on. And it looks like getting rid of Vigil is the first idea here. Now, he's already eaten the Jago payload, meaning he cannot be called for the remainder of the round, but also eating the Bees, and now being faced with a Blitz makes it a lot harder, taking damage shred by shred. But Charbear, you can't get heated up like that. You need to be able to account for the destructible ingredients around the map. The gas pipe temporarily moves the shield to the side. It's enough for the shield to move to the side and allow the SMG-12 to rip. But Brad gets two and gets rid of two of the most important players for this team, establishing that one-man advantage to look to continue to establish. They need to maintain the pressure. Now, plenty of payloads left. No mute, and nothing to directly counter. Time is scarce, but the amount of utility this team can burn with the cluster charges, as long as they don't run into a C4, they'll be fine. Charlie loses his, and Fix is the only one left. With one is going to have to make the crucial decision if they want to use his C4 to get the utility off the verticality or save it for when the plant goes down. Now a minute left on the clock. And KUSHO are very, very set up for a good execute. They're there for good timing. They also have good choke points. But Charlie's the win con currently for his team, set up in a place I don't think they know he's in. Now Fix being called will also eat the Jago payload, meaning you'll take temporary damage, has to move out of the flames, will take an extra point of damage from it. Now Jax, in an interaction, continues to quick peek to ensure that no one moves easily into his point of view. C4 burned off easily, but the Vector will do the job. Cole will prevail onto Deftones. 20 seconds left, the kid is forced loose, and Wild Boys hold the lead temporarily. Koval is going to double team with Brad to get rid of that player that sits within Church. That player in blue will be an issue, but Charlie's sitting so far away, meaning you can temporarily isolate. Koval, we're gonna need a legendary one out of you. Cole will reset the phone, and that's gonna burn precious seconds off the clock for the team. Now Charlie is sitting in such a critical spot, but Cole will save his teammate's life, and we'll get rid of the second. Wild Boys will tie things back up after we thought it was out of control. They'll reel it back in at the dying seconds of the round. And 5-all is the scoreline. Max regulation first map is always a great indicator of how the series will go. These teams continue to go shot for shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we went to OT, especially with how persistent either side really are. Wild Boys will head on to one of their more evened out sites here. I mean, it hasn't been too easy for them to win out on this, but they, at the end of the day, have won this site out, meaning anything can happen at this point in time. KUSHO's getting closer and closer to being able to call out this team, but I mean, Wild Boys, their last second coordination and resilience player to player is just simply unbeat. I mean, they were down 2 players from the very beginning of the round, and they're still able to prevail. Just really says something about the quality you see from these teams. I mean, look at how evenly spread out the scoreboards are. And you can honestly say that for both teams, but it's more for Wild Boys right now than anyone else. Considering between the bottom of the board to the top, there's only 2 to 3 kills between everyone else. It's a lot higher for KUSHO. Kavav's already found an entryway into the site. If I would say it's like similar to someone, it's more like Charlie than anyone else. As you can see, they both look to find Lurk with Nook in the first round of their attack. But, I mean, we're not in the first round of their attack. We're a couple rounds in, actually. I think that's more, but, I mean, Char is here to clean things up. Cole, still being very low from that initial interaction, puts him at a very, very large risk at dying at the first interaction with any player that decides to swing, considering how low he is. Minute 50 left on the clock, shield gone, and Dexy down as well. I mean, it just gets from bad to worse for this team. And Char just continues to go nuclear, a triple kill. We're not even a minute and a half in. He just continues to rip it up from within. Trey's entire utility depends on him being on his phone to use it, and that won't be the case. 6. Smoke bangs Deftone and will temporarily alleviate the pressure from Highway. But Brad is there to take his place, making it so there's still so much left to do. Come on, guys. There's still so much that you need to finish off. You cannot let this other team continue to close the deficit down every time they're down 1 or 2 bodies, as it's usually just a one-man team that continues to fight back to get a double or a triple kill to even things out. They're starting to stall out, and it's evident in their play style, but Jax finally strikes back, and Brad hits at the right time. Match point for KUSHO as they hit a snag in the road, but at the end of the day, they'll succeed, putting them one step closer to getting rid of Wild Boys' map pick. Wild Boys have so much left to do. And now, the reputation that precedes them, not going to be enough. They'll need to continue to push for themselves if they want to find joy. Because right now, they're being caught out at each and every turn. They're fighting back, but this is not how you would expect a team that barely qualified for playoffs and a top 4 seed would battle it off. You would expect a much more one-sided outcome. But right now, KUSHO came to play, and Wild Boys letting their cold feet show as they'll head back onto the same site that they've just lost. And hopefully they can hold out their extension without falling too early. Brad has an easy ping on the player that resides within Secret, which means the attackers could temporarily switch up their plan to just get rid of him, to get that man advantage and force the mistakes on earlier. but still, it's similarly quiet, and Trey opens it up by sitting on highway window with a shotgun, or not on highway window, the main stairs window, just shoots it at range, and it'll work out for him. Losing all the cluster charges that were so pivotal in getting rid of all of the utility that sits close on the stairs and on the site windows. Not to mention the highest team fragger as well, meaning KUSHO will have to fight a man down for the remainder of the round. And minus their fragger, and to add insult to injury, the ball goes down. Breach getting denied as well. A lot more hiccups than their previous attempt at holding this. Way starts to send in the second set of Selmas. The impact doesn't land on the other side of the singular. Brad, though, finally gets one to put his team one round closer to evening things out. A one-man advantage remains for Wild Boys, but if their overall coverage of CC and Cash topples, then they'll find themselves at a one-man advantage. But right now, Charlie is the biggest issue that you'll have to deal with. It's a good amount of damage to Brad. You are swinging a Warden with a shotgun. Not very sure on what the idea there is, as his whole ability is looking through flashes. It's an easy kill for Charlie, and he'll get out of dodge, and the player that was sitting in Cash peels off via the rotate, giving KUSHO the room after losing 2 bodies. Adexi making it 3. Not very good for KUSHO as they look to go to OT. Situation, there's still a lot left to do. Back up to full power, so a 1v4 for this team. They all take double positions, meaning even if he can isolate Vix temporarily, Charlie will swing right off of that, just deliver a shotgun payload to your face. Not really much you can do here, but really just waste up the clock and allow your team to talk things over. But Adexi will get rid of you before that can even happen. OT it is, as these teams continue to go back and forth. And Wild Boys starting to wake up, as KUSHO have lost their element of surprise. And if they continue to get caught out this early on in rounds, they will not be able to find joy as they have been before. Finally, we hit the point where we can see either team switch onto sides, this time in a simultaneous fashion, as they'll be allowed to continue their defensive campaign. But after this round, we go on to KUSHO's OT defense, and if we need all 15, Wild Boys will be given one more chance to go big on their defensive campaign. But still, this game has been a lot closer than people would have expected in the polls and within the server as well, as KUSHO currently sit at 5 votes to 29. Wild Boys the clear favorites to win here today, but they aren't being given an easy game. And KUSHO have the ability to win this out. They just need to be able to keep their eyes on the prize and clean up the mistakes that are so minor yet so deadly to their overall play style. If they can clean that up, they can find joy so easily. Now Cole with a long-range spawn peek, giving it up after realizing no one's coming to that side of spawn. Now the drones will come in to clear out any player that sits in garage within secret, but Goyo has already gotten out of dodge. Cole back inside already, but KUSHO making good timing, learning from their mistakes to not make executes when they haven't cleared upstairs. As one lurk player is enough to get rid of everything for them. But this time around, Wild Boys have taken a full anchor position back into sight, with Trey as the exception, as he's just come up main stairs, looking to be that wild card like he was previously. Forced to rotate back. He'll eat a Jago payload. Cannot be called for the remainder of the round. Koval taking full advantage of the fact that Ray is trying to use that IO scanner to find some utility. Found the blitz, but not before that shotgun was met. Now Can Opener will get the first hatch opened up here. The second with no utility on it, meaning it'll be very easy for that to go down as well. 2 C4s being the main issue for this team here. Volcans are being popped slowly but surely. There's a lot left to do for KUSHO. They have the man advantage, but we've seen how easy it is for them to lose it. They need to stay focused on burning all of the utility before they get into sight. Cole getting rid of Brad makes it a lot worse now that you no longer have Bees to rely on. Another interaction coming top main. Similar damage being taken from either side here. Now Blitz pushing this player back out. This here remains intact. Adexi gets rid of Koval. Say goodbye to the Candelas. It's all starting to crumble down. The ace is almost going to be put in a very bad predicament, but has a couple of bullets left to rely on, and they'll be enough to take the head off of Vix. 3-all as the team continues to go back and forth. Now Jago payloads have been delivered to almost every operator right now, and some decide to hang up. Now, half a minute left, and Cole takes full advantage of the angle, takes some damage, but stays focused and lets that TCSG rip and gets rid of that player bottom main. Now Blitz losing a good amount of health and has to do a lot by his lonesome. Needs to isolate the player in blue, but it's such a one-sided gunfight. Cole finally goes down, and now the Blitz needs to isolate. Will prevail. The win con against the Blitz goes down. Squirtle now occupying the same part that he has before. So low, loses the idea of who to look at and when. KUSHO take full advantage of that and hit him with the double swing. Charlie gets overwhelmed, and so does Wild Boys. It's match point for KUSHO. This game just gets better and better. And if they can overcome this obstacle, I have my full faith in these guys to go all the way to the finals. If you get rid of Wild Boys, truly, a round of applause and maybe even a standing ovation is in order, as these guys simply get better and better by the round. Some of these players have won this league before, time and time again. Some subs on the main team have won this league time and time again. Simply unreal that KUSHO is putting up this large a fight on Wild Boys' home turf and still able to get this close. They just need one round. They're on the preferred side. Everything is in their favor right now. All they need to do is add in that just last push to get them across that finish line and call Clubhouse theirs. You know how they play this out. They always have an extension upstairs. You'd have thought Cole would have learned that the entire time he was struggling on the attack, but no, it's forgotten. He had been so busy doing so well on his attack, switching onto the defense and actually beginning to rip it up. Was 1 and 4 at one point, but now 10 and 11. Really a change to remember. The player has been simply unreal on Goyo, but it won't be enough for this round as your spear entry goes down very early on. And I still have no words that this is the score line on Wild Boys' map. Still more than confident these guys can go to 7-7 OT because of how KUSHO he looks when they're a man up. But that was on the attacking side. KUSHO, they usually never falter when they're on the defense. Now Jax could really be a problem. Located, C4 goes loose, but it will not be good enough. And the frag will be enough to get rid of that player. Not enough to do in that corner. Charlie opens it up for his team and evens it up. A minute left on the clock, and this is your round, Wild Boys. But you guys have not done the pre-work to realize that there's a player lurking in kitchen. Koval, you haven't been going nuclear like you did in your previous series, but you have been striking when it's been the most important. As now he continues to just run the clock down on the opposing team. If he can walk out with one more kill or continue to waste out these seconds, it really is a round next to beautiful. He continues to just run circles around this team, exhausting 15 seconds off, but he'll still eventually fall. 3-all. 20 seconds now remain. And there's so much left to do for Wild Boys. They haven't even gotten the hatches opened out, and KUSHO are letting their bullets rip to get rid of these players. Adexi will save his teammate's life at the dying seconds of the round. Shar will fall as well, leaving Push Brad in a 1v3 situation. Such a tall order and can't get past the first barricade. Fix rises to the occasion. It gets rid of both players quite easily, pushing this to all 15 rounds. Wild Boys, given the defense, and now just need to convert. They'll go down to the basement as their final venue. That being said, it's also their most recent venue that they've lost on, making this a little bit of an impasse for how they want to play this out. It has gone the full mile in this game, and now it relies on the performance of KUSHO if they want to upset. But Wild Boys have now established the pressure that they needed to establish, and this is where their experience comes in. This is where their knowledge and their continued playoffs events continue to apply that pressure, because they've been in these predicaments before. KUSHO have not. Now, first bodies have touched ground. One body to worry about right now, and it's the Vigil. The question is, do they have a logic bomb or Jago payload to deploy to call him out? Answer quickly. Now Trey, his time continues to run this clock down. Has had one ping that has come out from the player in garage. Now with that lasting ping, he can use that info to continue to run circles around these attackers, as he's already wasted off a minute and hasn't even left the room. Minute 50, and it's still quite quiet here. If he heads back to the site, he's done a successful roam. I mean, a little bit of a lag in the meantime, but has done his job, has gotten rid of a minute, close to 90 seconds. It makes it so easy for his team to rely on this player. And now, KUSHO can't confirm that he's back on site, but just will have to be looking behind their back shoulder. I don't know, that's the word I'm looking for the remainder of the round. There's so much left to do. They haven't even gotten first blood yet. Koval being the lowest makes it a lot worse for them. 70 seconds to make a miracle happen. And if they lose the first pick, it is close to over because they haven't accounted for the mirror that sits in blue and the Vulcan canisters as well. Now Trey will fall first, which is a good sign. But now they need to get rid of that second player, and Char could get that second pick. Will so. Are you serious? Have you ever seen a Blitz get the first 2 picks and a 7-7 OT? But this means nothing. KUSHO, you need to maintain the pressure. We know how easy it is for them to lose that man advantage. They have 35 seconds. No Warden to go against, and Candelas that are being ripped out as now half a minute remains. And they're being pushed out into critical parts of the map. Adexi gets rid of that moto pressure. Brad goes low. He needs to stay alive to help his teammates out. But the Blitz goes ADS and loses out the gunfight. OPM fixes down, but Adexi's putting in a shift. Koval left last alive. Not what you want to see with only 13 seconds left. Adexi's running circles around him, but he's in a 1v1. Koval goes guns hot in the red time. Squirtle going upstairs, but he doesn't know the plan's already in the process of going down. You're going to have to fight from behind, and now in the close range, he has a close to fully auto shotgun to isolate. Down to the wire it is for this OT. There's so much left to do. Now Charlie going down to 1 HP, but Koval's not any higher, but they'll win it out. The biggest upset so far of the entire playoffs, decided by a Ying with a shotgun in the dying seconds of the round, as KUSHO take it 8-7. Not what you expected to see, especially when the stakes are so high. KUSHO delivers, and this team, they are looking dangerous. They'll pursue their own turf onto border after a swift break. Make sure to follow and subscribe if you are enjoying so far. We'll get these players into the lobby, and we'll be back soon.
Got the patience, always on
A beautiful opener to the first map. An upset for the ages. KUSHO making a name for themselves against the absolute dawns of Siege. But now, remember, this is a best of 3, meaning endurance is key. Now 8-7 in their favor on the first map. They'll go on to border, where it will matter the most that they apply the most amount of pressure. Now, make sure you put in a vote to get onto the on-screen graphics. Put a 1 for KUSHO, a 2 for Wild Boys. While we get these boys situated, we will have a great time seeing who's got what. And right now, KUSHO taking it by heart. As within the server, they were down 25 votes, but it looks like there's a shift in tone. We'll be back when all these players are ready. Into the game we go. The votes finally twisting and turning in the favor of KUSHO. They'll fight on the lesser preferred side, but at the end of the day, they've won everyone's hearts over by winning that map out, and the main idea now should be to continue to apply this pressure. As Wild Boys, as reputable as they are, no team is safe away from mental chalking. You can only assume what the comms sound like after a game that ends in 8-7 to the lesser preferred team. Maybe already a tech issue, but we have a lot of time between now and the ban. Gives us more time to talk about how these teams are really playing out. I mean, Clubhouse, when it matters, baby, is Koval's catchphrase, and I was wondering why. but we've seen it in full effect on why it is. Now, these guys are simply exceptional when it comes to the last dying seconds of the round. The question is, can they maintain that onto their own map when they are starting on the lesser preferred side? Because obviously, Wild Boys wanted the defense. Now for them, fighting on this could work in its last phase, but it's very important that they cannot fall further than a 4-2 split, because anything like a 5-1 or even worse, 6-0 ensures that border goes one way and we'll need all three to clean it all up. And with the way that KUSHO is playing, I have full faith that that's not going to be the case. First map against one of the best teams going to triple OT is what you want to see from these guys. But endurance is a very, very large aspect of a game like playoffs. So let's see how this plays out. We'll head on over to Armory. First round for Wild Boys, as they will no longer have Mira or a zombie to work with, but there's a tall order for Wild Boys to bring it back, not on home turf, and to win it out against a team that right now has players with the clutch tone that you would not expect. I mean, Charbear, ADS with Blitz Shield and won 3 gunfights. Any round that mattered, you could sure depend your life on Char, the Shield Sun Tzu, as he's been weapons hot since this game has started, and it looks like that idea will maintain as Wild Boys been the default shield operator, but they haven't tailored the bans to the main of Charbear. He plays Blackbeard Blitz, didn't see him on Monty. Looking to find access into the building right now. It doesn't really look like there's a lot of contest in jail, but right now the warden that continues to swing off of Catwalk will be a very, very big pain to deal with. It is Slamka, player who is very difficult to deal with if you let him heat up. But this time around, doesn't see the player until the crosshairs are already fixated onto him. Goes down to 1 HP, given a second chance at life, but these players are circling and they're hungry to get rid of him. Receiving assistance from the players on the Sui breach. There's still so much left to do, and KUSHO doesn't seem to be troubled by the fact that the clock is running down on them. Now Blackbeard trying to prompt a response from the player that may potentially sit in the break room. It seems like they know, and Jax gets rid of him very easily. Now time is the only thing that's been rid of for this team right now, but they're good for bodies as they continue to rip it up without even touching ground into the building. Now, Sui's the biggest problem that they have right now, but no one's even playing it. They've had to give it up considering the amount of fatalities that they've had external to the site. Now, Squirtle will take a position in Fountain, but Vic swings off the Sui breach and the triple to get a double. Now, there's a lot left to do for him, but he's already done his task at being able to establish a man advantage, but quickly one back by Koval, but Charlie's here to play. Adexi, low, but as long as he stands, those toxic babes will be very useful. To use them to double team this Blackbeard could be pivotal for this round. A minute left. The sights are now set on the chassis, but they have no hard breacher, and there's an electrifier on it to ensure that nobody can easily open it up, whether it be can openers or something else. Now Char, not aware of the player that continues to just work his way between metal and beepers to continue to apply this pressure. Last Toxic Babe, exhausted. Melee comes through. Squirtle goes down to the greatest shield operator who's ever touched console as a Dexy, now forced to seek refuge in the depths of sight. Half a minute left, and the order is right now to get the plant down while Koval holds it. Having the Soliton radar allows you to continue to overclock and know exactly where this player is, and swinging off the reload puts you in a perfect position to win out the first on the attack, ensuring that the worst scenario possible cannot happen. And now KUSHO will just have to continue to work their way down to ensure there's no deficit until they can maybe potentially get to a halftime that has them winning it out. This game that continues to give back has these teams fighting tooth and nail to ensure that one doesn't have their head fall below the water. But Wild Boys, even with a sub, it's not looking too good right now. We know how good Slamka can be. We know how good this team can be in total, but it looks like they left their game faces at home. As this team continues to heat up as this game goes on, KUSHO, his composed game of Siege, this nonchalant playstyle is refreshing to see. There's no aggressiveness, unless it's Koval, as they continue to apply the pressure without really having a prospect of time on the attack. And even with that being said, when you watch them, they never have time expire out on them. They usually die via bodies, meaning they're making the right ideas, but sometimes those executes don't work. So round to round, their idea should just be actively adapting to the playstyle of Wild Boys, because it will differ when they realize that the common plays, the common angles, and the common aggression just won't work on this small map. Now Jax looking to get rid of the Electroclaw, but is having to deal with an already suspicious Kaid, who's looking to get rid of Util. Now, Slamka, this time around, his C4 will connect and get rid of the Soliton radar in a critical piece to KUSHO's overall attack. As both the player and the operator have been pivotal so far to this team. Now the Bees touch ground on top east to ensure no one's on the staircase. Next issue will have to be dealing with the Sui breach. Can deflect a set of Bees off to see whoever sits close. Charlie's given up. The question is, do they know about Vix, the player who's very difficult to deal with? It looks like Slamka's starting to wake up. He's always very difficult to deal with when he's hungry and aggressive and waiting to give his team that advantage that they need. Now Jax opens it up, and that lead was so short-lived as Brad goes down to pinch out the player, and now it's all evened out. 90 seconds to work with. More than enough time if you can get rid of Charlie as well, or if you can isolate him. We've seen that player fall in security. Jail is no longer these players, but they will allow Charlie to fall back into sight. Just below 90 seconds left on the clock, and it's quiet while either team looks to continue to find a gap in their respective sides to force a mistake out. But the C4s are the thing that I'm staring at, because mix that in with a long-range gun, these teams can account for both the plant and any gunfight that can prevail. The time may not be in their favor, as they'll also lose a body to add insult to injury, but we've seen what these guys can do. C4 gone, leaving this player stranded, in a frag grenade to push him into a bad spot. Another frag left out. This time won't be caught out by a magnet. Blackbeard needs to win this gunfight, but can't, as Squirtle takes full advantage and swings out through 90. Gets both quills easily, as they just get gunned down in broad daylight. No cams, nothing, as Wild Boys tie it up. We'll head on over to the first floor. it has looked beautiful from either team right now. Despite this being a map up for KUSHO, it's quite evened out in the gameplay department, whether it be kills, 1v1s, 1vx's. We really see both teams all get each and everything. We've seen Vix clean up a triple kill on Clubhouse. We've seen a triple kill from Koval. We've seen every player within this lobby have their own individual contribution right now. So it's not in doubt if a team can contribute enough to win it out. It's mainly the question is if they coordinate enough together to win out each and every individual gunfight, or are they gonna continue to, you know, struggle game by game, day by day. Now, a very outgoing hold here as almost no direct hold into the site. The soft roamer being Trey and Squirtle. One vertical, one horizontal, making it a little bit easier to keep your eyes on the main focal points here, but if one of those players falls, you can kiss site control goodbye and could potentially see a little bit of a quick action plant go on here. KUSHO doesn't seem like the team to do that. They're very fundamental. They look to get processes done quite easily. No Bandit, no Kaid on the board, allowing them to open up this breach with little to no contest. Now Squirtle going down to low HP, but Adexi will get one off of the assist of Charlie. But one will go down in the meantime. And Jax will give it up and reset as the player does occupy the half wall. C4 thrown out the breach, or an impact, actually. And Adexi will use both sets of impacts and the C4, meaning he'll be no more utility for the remainder of the round. Will just be guns hot. Surprisingly enough, KUSHO has not brought a Dokkaebi so far. He'll manually have to get rid of every player. Slamka kind of whiffing. His last couple of bullets will do enough, as one bullet is only needed to hit a headshot, and he'll confirm that properly, as now they'll continue to get closer and closer to clearing out upstairs, but they're losing time and bodies as they get one objective done by the time. Losing your snake is, again, going to be very critical. First it was Koval, now it's Charbear. You guys need to kind of innovate. You know how aggressive Wildboy is going to play off of site to force you guys to make the mistakes when it comes to trying to get the main executes down. Now two players staying behind Koval, seemingly unaware of a player sitting in the corner, but doing the fundamentals of Siege and having to isolate. The second attempt gives him a second chance at life, but no joy, as he was a little late to the reaction. And Vix will take full advantage of that and force to do a full rotate that no one will be there to catch him off guard with, as he'll just head back to the site. Adexi watching guard for any player who tries to get him via bottom metal. And Brad trying to get rid of him as well, but again, these players are more than hungry to keep their fellow buddies alive as the floor bang works, and now Wild Boys have another round on their hands as they have a 1v4 situation and no avenues to really worry about in the verticality. That being said, they have shotguns in the close range as well to add insult to injury. Now the Thermite secondary has nothing on Legion's shotgun, as it rips him apart, and Wild Boys take the lead for the first time in regulation ever. Much left to do for either side, but I mean, KUSHO falling short. Every time they try to go for a clear, they kind of don't account for a player sitting in a corner, a player sitting in a weird angle, and that'll just catch them off guard each and every single time. Making it a lot harder for them to be able to find joy, especially on a map like Border. But again, that's what we were kind of talking about in the pre-show. It is very important that they continue to try to keep the deficit as close as possible. A 4-2 split, a 3-all split is very common on Border. Where you need to start to get worried is when it becomes 5-1, 6-0. Now, one of those isn't possible. 5-1 should be their main priority to avoid. Who else but Slamka to open up the round as the hero of map 1. Cannot find joy against the super sub of Doom. At this rate, he will just continue to rip things up from within. This team has no chance if you're allowing one player to just run around the map with an SMG-12. And allowing him to find joy every time he does it. Now, first time we've seen a Dokkaebi, which is quite refreshing to see. But now they need to layer on. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be opposed to them bringing something like a double track, maybe a Deimos and a Dokkaebi to just isolate one player and continue to apply that pressure. But it is evident that the momentum used from the first map has subsided completely as Squirtle and Slamcook at the first and the second. C4 goes wide, but before it can be detonated, Jax is there to save it. Close down the deficit to one body, and they have an idea that somebody else is close, but they don't know where. And guess what? C4 to add insult to injury, as a Dexy will blow up Jax. The audio was masked by the actual C4 on the ground from his former teammate. Not really what you would expect. 70 seconds left, and a 1v3 situation is just not what you want to see. They are struggling. I mean, we gotta see something, guys. We gotta see something. We need to see some signs of life. They're not able to wake up, and Wild Boys now starting to heat up. Mental state of question is now completely answered as they go through each and every round stronger than the last. They may take a very, very long gap. Now, an interesting game but really the main thing I want you guys to focus on is the change of pace. I mean, compare the amount of clutches, individual efforts on the first map, and now look at this one. And it's two different matchups. You can't even say it's the same game. Just both teams just continue to try new things, and you can respect that, really, but the way that either team is playing, you could say that it is a more one-sided game in the favor of Wild Boys, and they have more than enough momentum built up on this map to win it out and go on to the third map and show who's boss on there. Consulate is not a forgiving map, and against a team like KUSHO, if they're in their own heads, it's GG's and nights out. But I have faith that maybe it's the sides. Maybe we need to see KUSHO defend first before we can come to any conclusions. Their main focus right now should just be making sure they cannot fall any more rounds. Same traditional position, so they should expect it, but again, they just can't capture Slamka. He just plays so aggressive on different avenues, and it works every single time as he just runs around like a psychopath on the map, and it works. I mean, look at him go. addicted to the adrenaline of getting headshots, but Charbear finally shuts him out. But after what? 2 players go down, and that's enough to determine the remainder of the pacing within this round. A minute burned off the clock, and you see how passive this team is playing. They've yet to clear the Sui breach. They've yet to clear out jail, but guess what? You have a crazy shield operator, and he'll sure as hell make sure that you don't fall down when he's needed the most. That time slowly but surely running slow and close for KUSHO to find access into the site, but we've only been in one situation where the plant has gone down. Meaning, one way or the other, we're more likely to have an outcome that is kills-based than anything else. But tied up, they've been given a second chance at life with just below 90 seconds left to clear out these players from pesky areas of the map. Now Blackbeard, almost a little careless to determine his fate. As they get closer to the 1 minute marker, it looks like they're more focused on getting into the east area of the building, but we saw what Charlie did last time when he realized that. He took 90. Adexi almost had that plot on him, but decides to give it up and fall back. And Vix does the same. A little bit of hesitancy. This exothermic will push this player out, but not before. Deftone just decides to walk in. There was somebody supposed to watch the cross, but he was fixated on the rotate on the triple, allowing a moment's gap. And somebody took full advantage of that. Now, if there's no intel below, these players are going to suffer with Squirtle's pre-play C4. Could be a little disastrous. There's not a single soul seems to know right now, but if Adexi goes down, they can plant it in an alternate spot. But Charlie's back up this site. Brad goes down to Adexi. It is starting to go from bad to worse, but Adexi goes down, leaving just Charlie. And he will plant in that odd spot, meaning he has to isolate the Blackbeard while he can. In the red time, Char hits the first melee, and Deftones reads it beautifully to get off the plant and shoot that player in the mouth. Played out beautifully by these two to close down the deficit to just 1 round in 3-all or 4-2 is going to be the outcome. Beautifully played. Slamka proving to be an absolute powerhouse against this team, but they'll be able to win out their second. Could this be the beginning of something new, or is it just false hope? That question is answered by how this team decides to treat that round, if it's a momentum builder or if it's a let's play slow and rely on whatever it may be to get the job done here. But containing Slamka is the only thing these guys can do to ensure this game isn't over. And the fact that he's on the TCSG is causes for concern. But Char's on Blackbeard, so possibly anything can happen at this point in time. Watch the aggression, and I'm sure KUSHO can find joy. But Wild Boy's playing this perfectly, despite that first map being so back and forth. Char, by his lonesome, looks to find access into the building, and look at that, Flam goes down first via one of the oldest angles in the game, taking heavy damage from below or an impact thrown on head-on. It seems to be the former, as Adexi is out of a C4 and there are no impacts on the board. Just nearly a minute burned off the clock, and it looks a lot slower in pacing. Both of these teams slowing themselves down. Question is, what do they have to push the pressure? Because it's not only Slamka that's an absolute psychopath on the aggression. Charlie is on this team as well, and he'll make that be known. He'll swing out, but they have accounted for this. Either a drone or the audio was enough to read them in. As Charlie takes 1 point of damage through a wall and is forced to rotate back into the site. Beautifully read out here by KUSHO. They've now allowed themselves to find certain access points into the building, and Deftones may have a way into the site if he can isolate Trey. As Bees go big, can opener is there, and he's taking the slow pathway instead of the individual hero ideology. That time is, again, very scarce for this team, but they're very composed, and this is what we've seen on Clubhouse. You know, how important it is for them to maintain their team pressure, because we know when they call one play, they need all of the bodies to ensure they can isolate. Now, a C4 thrown on this breach, I'm going to say, because it's going to be treated like a breach in a second, could be a difference maker, but the breach, mainly in Armory, is already opened up, and Koval hit him with the 3 big booms from below, but Adexi finally gets to pick back, and the Grim holding the angle, but Opium Vix takes more damage than anyone else on the C4 that he threw. Now the gunfights erupt, but the stuns finally find both of these players. Squirtle goes down, meaning it's full pressure onto the players that sit in Armory. Koval goes down, but Jax gets the first and the second, leaving Vix outside of sight. Char has the plant, but Deftones is going to open the round and close it. 3-all. It's all tied up, as now these guys will go end out even in the halftime. Wild Boys have now something to worry about, as KUSHO are cooking up. KUSHO now have everything to impress us on their defensive campaign. I sure do hope that these strats get better and better, because it's very entertaining, to be honest. And seeing how Wild Boys thought Clash and Kaid would be bigger of an issue than Mira, then this will be an interesting round, considering she can take up so many areas, just hole up and force so many mistakes throughout the round, which could be a deciding factor of this round. But again, it's better not to jump to conclusions rather than let it play out and see how these teams handle the pressure. Now, curious to see how Denari is going to be played out. Wasn't really paying attention to where the prisms were placed. And unless I have a visual issue, it doesn't really seem like they've been put anywhere. Oh, there's one. Oh, they're just put in as little mini Capcans. It's kind of adorable to see. Syria Gate's going to be a lot more threatening to have to deal with, considering on the other side of them are going to be a very nice DMR. Ashar is there to deal with the pressure that comes in from jail, and so is the castle, but it won't matter as Brad is going to get 1 pick, but not before his teammate is taken care of, putting us at an evened out man count. Losing the Azami is a critical pick, considering she has one of the only regenerative abilities in this game. Deftones realizing that the pressure may be too much to deal with and will get out of dodge. And now the attackers will take those positions into security in the jail area. And actually almost finding a first pick, but not before taking damage for himself. Now you're going to have to deal with the pressure that comes in all the way from Fountain, but a long angle into the player who plays on that deep Mira. Somebody's going to have to help him out, otherwise that might be an easy pick for him. If he picks out wide or decides to go for something aggressive, he'll be dealt with. Beautiful push out from this team here, as it's a very layered attack to make sure he cannot occupy this mirror, but Koval, that's where the Denaris went. He did the star strat on a window, Charlie Hobson, and eats all of them. It ensures that nobody can find joy. Oh, you cheeky player. Trey now looking to hop in, but they know it's there. Slamka gets rid of Koval as well. Holding on his team. Pulling them across that finish line. He continues to get better and better as this round goes on. But finally finding access to ensure that those prisms do not take any more lives than absolutely necessary. Slamka is now on track for the ace. Or not. His teammate got finished off by the Denaris. I forgot. It's now just Deftones left in a 1v3 situation. A very one-sided affair, but it's a pseudo 1v1 while that plant goes down. But Deftones doesn't know this, and it's enough for the team to get the plant down and allow them to isolate him. Now, he'll get rid of the planter, and the wallbang goes through. Just one more shot, and you'll have enough. The wallbang will go through. He'll empty the entire mag, but Slamka somehow is still alive. The wallbangs continue to rip through, but he's still alive. You need to get rid of him. He's 1 HP. It's possible. Just put the moves on him, and you'll find joy. He's running prime routes! Looking like Odell as he breaks the entirety of the Wild Boys attack and wins a 1v3 that those would dream of. KUSHO are doing the impossible. The player that has kept Wild Boys on board can't even contain them, as they now grab up the lead for what I'm sure is their first ever advantage in this game. They fought down from a 1-3 deficit, and now they've won 3 back-to-back. This series is nothing short of ridiculous. I mean, when you think it can't get any more chaotic, it does. Either team continues to just go back and forth with each other, trading out the heroics. It just gets more and more entertaining. Now, Wild Boys forced to delegate their tasks to somebody else than just Slamka. Just look at the leaderboard. He's 10-6, and nobody's even close. Squirtle trailing by 4 kills, but at the end of the day, 4 kills at round 8 is a lot. Curious to see if this is a round that even ties it up, or if maybe just one-sided approach. This is KUSHO's awakening, and if they can continue to reap that pressure. Not similar to how Wild Boys played it, but they do have a vertical presence, but a lot more presence onto site itself. Now, not a heavy extension, but they are trying to ensure that the easy take of vertical is not there. And by that being said, it'll be a lot easier to ensure that players don't break out certain areas easier. Now again, it should be the same idea. Kill Slamka and find joy. But a little bit easier said than done. He's on Twitch and Ash for a reason every single round, because of the positions he can find himself in so early on in the round. But individual prowess is not all of the aspects of Siege. Does Brad know that there's an issue? There we go. The first bullets of the R4C will rip out. Not sure if Brad knows they came in from supply. Might have a second interaction, but needs to make the rotate, but he's stuck on the breach right now. Seems to be bugged, but it doesn't matter. Deftones opens it up onto a Dexy. First blood is there, and now he'll take another position to try to catch him off guard. On the meantime, upstairs, it'll be Trey to get a kill in response, but Deftones follows it up and gets rid of all of the direct pressure onto site, making this a lot worse to get the job done. Now, Koval has not had the hottest of games, but the reputation speaks for itself. The rest of the team is rising to the task when the teammate cannot. This continues to become better and better for KUSHO. They just need to keep their eyes on the target. Now, beautiful backstab from Vix to get rid of Jax and a win con for the defenders. Pressure starts to amount for KUSHO as they fought really hard to have that man advantage, but it's instantly taken care of and shifted the other way as Vix is putting in a shift. As now, they've lost that vertical pressure, no C4s, and the Ram continues to rip up the floor. Now they know where the players occupy. Brad knows he needs to get rid of the head-on pressure that is of Charlie outside of West Main. The question is, does he know there's a player sitting close to him? No shotgun primed. And if he clicks Y or triangle, wherever it is on console to switch to his primary, he'll be heard out. The flash is sent him deep, but he'll get affected by it. Squirtle sees him, but tries to hold him at bay. Gets drop shot hit fired. The plant looks to go down, meaning they're in a 1v2 temporarily, and now in a 1v2 for real, as Trey is left in sight, having bullets rain down. Deftones, the player, is celebrating, and rightfully so. Type out that L, teabag, do what you please. The superstar of 3 rounds back-to-back, as KUSHO are now 1 round short of that match point. This is simply ridiculous. Wild Boys had the Slamka alternative working for a bit, but right now it doesn't seem to have the lifelong efficacy that they thought it would, as it looks like they continue to apply that pressure round in and round out. My God, when it's not Koval, it's KUSHO. The team saying has to be when it matters. I can't get over the fact that he put the brakes on that player. Taking ankles in a video game is a first for me, especially on Siege. But it's the first time for everything. Wild Boys now still fighting on the lesser preferred side and continue to have that momentum stack up against them. That's now 4 rounds in a row for KUSHO. Talk about an upset if they can take this one home. All quiet as both teams begin to prepare for receiving and applying their first assault. Now, surprisingly, KUSHO haven't opted in for a extension into server and ventilation. They've reinforced off all the walls instead that connect them to ventilation and opted for a wait within bathroom and go for a vertical hold, and it seems to be working as Shar opens it up and rids of Trey. The first gunfight. Now looking for utility they think is there. Now, Slamka goes down soon after Jax. They're starting to apply the pressure. Could this be the end of Border? This pressure just continues to get worse and worse As Wild Boys cannot find an answer. They'll go down 2 bodies. Even I can't imagine them finding a way out of this one because they have 90 seconds to clear out top and bottom floor all in one. And utility is scarce. They can't even get default plant down without flying in through a window or dropping a hatch, and even then there's a response for both of those things. These players are both scattered out and waiting. And to make matters worse, there's also EDVs and Vulcan canisters to worry about. Now, Jax knows there's a player top 90. First bullets don't come in. The others become a lot more problematic, and he'll fall eventually, making matters worse on the uppermost floor. But it's not the sight, guys. There's still a lot left to do. Now, Adexi, it's the easiest kill at the frag. Will do most of the work, and the player evacuating make it a bigger problem. Now, Deftones aware that there's a player pushing down waiting room. The question is, are they aware of Deftones himself? Has been a pivotal player and is going to continue to prove that. Gets rid of Adexi and stops that pacing in his tracks. 35 seconds, and they're just waiting for the players to get carried away and just walk into the breach. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Push Brad with the fadeaway. A 3-way cross to ensure this player cannot cross waiting room. And the pre-fire comes out as Caval lets the MPX rip. All bullets connect. Match point for KUSHO as they look to 2-0 Wild Boys. This is a new generation of Siege. Not what we would have expected. I'm simply trying to find the words to put it together. As we simply just are at a loss for what I'm seeing. Teams continue to try their best, but nobody can hold KUSHO. They currently, if they maintain this pressure, they will have not dropped the map this entire playoff series. 2-0ing Black Hole NLG, and now KUSHO, or now Wild Boys. KUSHO goes on to be one of the most menacing teams with the underdog story in their favor. It's absolutely crazy to say. Even with the superstar sub for Wild Boys, they just can't find joy. Match point now, as they would now shape up to win every single round from the halftime until now. Even a little before that. That is, if I'm not mistaken, that's 5 consecutive rounds they've taken. First blood has struck almost every time in the defensive campaign for KUSHO. Now they look to continue that path of pressure if they can. Slowly but surely ticks down on Wild Boys for their time within the SSL playoffs. They really have to hope that a miracle prevails and Slamcock can ace 30 times in a row. Otherwise, map 3 is not even going to be in the question. Squirtle opens it up and gets rid of Jax. Exactly what you want to see. C4 ripped up, lands on nobody's doorstep, and Adexi shuts out the player who had thrown it. A minute burned off the clock, and KUSHO now down 2 bodies very early on. A little bit concerning. As now, they take that next gunfight. Can they slump the player on Beeper? Slamka says yes, of course he can. A 5v2, and they continue to add in that pressure. Slam goes big again. Simply undeniable how good he is. And looks to add a choke point, but Koval has players hungry in a flawless round to close the deficit down to 2. It is possible. They threw every piece of utility at him. It's starting to get more and more realistic, but KUSHO remains on the match point every single round that will play out until we go to OT, or if we go to OT, meaning Wild Boys need to tread on eggshells if they want a chance to go all the way. Round slowly but surely starting to run out on KUSHO that can be buffers. You guys had been fighting out from behind all the time, and now you've had the 3-round advantage. Don't lose it. You know what to do that your counterparts didn't. And that should be enough to provide you with the end of this game. If not, this is simply a back and forth game that may lead us to another OT. Still remaining on the attack. Lots left to do. But the utility for Wild Boy seems to be a lot better with the amount of frags that they bring, because you see the amount of times that the lack of Wamai Magnets or Jaeger ADSs allow them to toss in frag grenades to corners that force the mistakes and force players to run out of little corners that just makes it such an easy kill for them. All they gotta do is continue to do so. They have 6 grenades total, and now you just need to continue to keep your pressure on. Now getting rid of the main player that's been putting in a shift. Going down, beautiful to see. Now slowly but surely these frags are getting exhausted, and Brad getting rid of Squirtle makes this a lot better. Surya Gate holds down the mirror as well. Now Koval takes a C4 into the front doorstep of Trey, and they're nearly out of frag grenades because they've yet to clear out anything yet. I mean, they're advancing on, yeah, sure, but the mirrors are intact, the frags are completely depleted, and Adexi is fully down. And if there's somebody holding a choke point, that's adding insult to injury. But Slamka could have a lurk for the ages if he can find access, and Vix making it worse by evening out the scoreline. Hold on, Slamka. Stay quiet. Stay quiet. Shar seems to hear it, though. Now it's just going to be a matter of who has the better crosshair placement, as you're both crouched. But Slamka goes down. The DMR is just simply too powerful. Adexi being picked up in the meantime, barely clinging on to life. Could see the same for Charbear. The amount of pressure could amount. These guys need to keep themselves alive, healthy, and push down the clock as far as they can, because forcing an execute in a 2-man situation forces one player to plant and the other to cover Jax, forces the kit loose and gets rid of Vix. And now they're clean house. They've done it again. They've gone week in, week out, upsetting everybody. 2-0 KUSHO take. Game over, series over, and they'll advance on to the semifinals as they continue to cook it up. Simply the runners-up to win this entire thing. I don't care what anyone says. These guys are unstoppable. They win out their maps. They're confident even in a 3-1 deficit. They fight back from behind, and they take it home. At the end of the day, though, we'll have to wait until next week to see how they'll play this out. I've been Sino. I've been doing everything behind the desk. Make sure to leave a follow and subscribe if you did enjoy the broadcast. It shows the support for this broadcast, and 25% of the subs do go to charity. So, have a great rest of your night. Stay tuned for the following up quarterfinal games. We'll see you guys in the future, and have a great night.
Got the patience.